Hello, 7th graders. Your video for tomorrow is covering section 2.6, and that is solving equations involving the distributive property. So we've actually already talked about the distributive property when we did the simplifying expressions section, and so we're adding another step to the equations that we did the last couple of days by using the distributive property. And again, what is that? It's when you multiply a factor by a sum or a difference. The product is the same as multiplying the factor by each term and then adding or subtracting the products. And I realize that probably sounds confusing the way it is worded. That is what the term is. But I'll show you here what I mean by that. And we've already, like I said, we've already done this when we simplified expressions. So if I very simply had 3 times 5 plus 4. Okay, there's 2 different ways you could do it. You could go 3 times 9, add the 5 and the 4, get 9, and you'd get 27. Okay, what this is saying, I could also do this. I could take 3 times 5 and then add it to 3 times 4, which would be 15 plus 12, which would also be 27. So they equal the same thing. And because I can do that, I can do even more complicated equations. Here's another example. Let's say I just had letters. P times D plus K. So you're going to multiply whatever's on the outside times everything on the inside. So you'd have P times D, and you have to add that to P times K. It's the same concept as we just did up here, but it's just letters. Whatever is out here has to be multiplied times each thing. So if I had 4 things on the inside of the parentheses, I would multiply whatever is out here times 4 different things. And you have to be very careful if it says plus or minus, because that's going to change whether it's positives or negatives. So now let's actually look at an equation that has the distributive property in it. So remember, an equation has equal signs, and we need to have some parentheses to show the distributive property. So first step is going to be I have to distribute this 3 to everything in here. So I'm going to go 3 times x, which would be 3x. This says minus, so 3 times a minus 2 would be minus 6. So now I have simplified it. I got rid of the parentheses. So now I'm back to what we just did with the 2-step equations. So when we did 2-step equations, again, you have to get rid of what's being added or subtracted first. So it says minus 6. I do the opposite to get rid of it. I add 6. And again, what I do to one side, I need to do to the other side. So I have 3x equals 39. And then I'm back to a 1-step equation. 3 times x. So to get rid of the 3, I have to do the opposite, which is divide. So my x ends up being 13 for that one. And again, remember that I can check every single one of these. I can plug it back in and see if it works. Plug your 13 in and see if it works. 13 minus 2 is 11. Is 3 times 11 33? Yes, so it worked. Okay, then I have one more that's a little tougher simply because it has fractions in it as well, but you're still going to follow the same steps. So if I have 9 outside of parentheses, 1/3 plus r inside equals 12. So distributive property has to be handled first. So I'm going to take 9 times 1/3, and I'm going to do it over here. So 9 over 1 times 1/3, and I can reduce this. 3 goes into 3 once, 3 goes into 9 3 times. 3 times 1 is 3, over 1 would just be 3. And then 9 times r would be 9r. How did I know it was going to be plus? Because this was a positive 9, and it says plus right here. That's how I know it's plus 9r. Okay, now we have a 2-step equation again. Don't get confused because the 9r is not listed first. You still handle it the same way. How do I get rid of a positive 3? I subtract 3. That leaves me with 9r equals 9. And then I'm going to divide by my 9 for my last step, and I get r equals 1. And I can go ahead and plug it back in and see if it works. 9, and then I have a 1/3 plus 1 equals 12. Plug it back into my original right here. So here, 1 plus 1/3, so that'd be 4/3 to make it a little easier. And then I have to make that a fraction. So 9 times 4 is 36. Is 36 divided by 3 12? Yes, so it worked. So those are, we call them three-step equations. You have to do the distributive property first, and then once you have distributed your number on the outside, you're left with a two-step equation, which you can then solve using the rules that we've already learned to be able to solve for the variable. So bring that knowledge with you, and we will go over that tomorrow. Have a good night.